Alright, folks, welcome back, everyone. 欢迎大家回来。今天是第453天。It is day 453. Hello, hello again. Crocodile, if you're still here, good afternoon. Mate, huh? Mate, do you happen to be British or Australian? I know that's not the only place that would use that term, but we're kind of just narrowing it down. Boy. Alright. So we're kind of... that number is getting gigantic, huh? Not that intimidating. Yesterday we did our character review, and we kind of... what were our common ones? There was a couple that are rough. Yi is pretty rough. Radiating. I think there were 6 of them. Oh, I suppose we'll see. I didn't mentally keep a track of the ones. We'll find out. I didn't refine them either. You're indeed from Australia? Nice. Hello. The timing, I started with Australia or England, but it would not, or UK, but it wouldn't be UK right now because of the time frame. It would be an unusual hour. Like, statistically, you would be in bed. So, and I ruled out the kind of a certain time zone because unless you're a really weird night owl, which can happen on YouTube, it's less likely. If you were on Twitch, the statistics will go higher for someone who's like in an unusual hour. But yeah, hello there. I'm in the East Coast of the United States. Hello there. Hello, hello. Also a crocodile. I was gonna make a Crocodile Dundee or like a Steve Irwin reference because of the crocodile. But that is also another way to go about it. It's a very cute crocodile as well. How are you? Hello, hello. Alright, let's hop into our lesson.
Pie.
Pie. We might have to go over the beanstalk again. I don't remember a pie. That's buy. Dang it. It is pay respect. Alright. I didn't get a chance to ask you, are you interested in language learning, Crocodile? I mean, you gave me the impression of when you mentioned the Japanese thing, I imagine then you might be interested in Japanese of some sort. Is this related to gaming? RuneScape does kind of flow with that type of logic, gaming related things. We do have a couple Australian either transplants or bona fide Australians that we met over the time frame. It's a kind of a convenient time zone thing because I typically go into the day of the day timing in Australia. Alright, pie. Fortunately, buy is the closest thing. I think we're gonna reduce it to pay respects. So sound of waves. So Patrick Star is in the bathroom of the high school. Alright, I got this. So Patrick, bathroom, high school. He is being weird. So he flooded the bathroom to pay respects to the sound of waves of all the toilet and sink water flowing around. He's a starfish. That's why I'm doing that. As he splashes around merrily. Okay. That'll work for pi. Can we integrate it by
派
ways?
归
Gui. Gui does not look like. The closest thing I can think of is Wa. Wa is pretty solid. What else? Jia, yeah, Jia, Wa. Oh, there is a Gui for cinnamon though. There's also Gui, small arch door. This is not as reliable. But we could reinforce arch door with brick. That's probably an ancient measurement. Interesting. So let's use brick and arch door. Yeah, we'll integrate arch door. Goofy is in front of the beach house by the bay where he's using an ancient measurement to measure. So very similar. Let's add arch door to it. Where he is using an ancient measurement using bricks and shellfish found on the beach to make a small arch door out of bricks of sand. Just because he likes digging in the sand, because he's a doggo. You studied it about 5 years ago through Nihongo Shark. Ooh, is that still around? After traveling there back in 2019. Oh, very nice. So yeah, firsthand. You dropped it due to life, but have always kicked yourself about dropping the lessons. I see. So is it time? You'll still be listening, but you won't be able to reply for the next 10 minutes. So no worries. I'll front load some questions. What now? 5 years ago, right? That means that it's a great learning lesson and you kicked yourself. So now that you've kicked yourself, I imagine then there's some sort of definitive way of trying to think about maybe it's time to start up again. And it would be really fun or perhaps encouraging to hear how you go about it a second time around. So while you're listening to this, right, you're able to listen to this, and it would be interesting if you can collect your thoughts and curious. Would you consider starting now again? Life is still young, right? At least I think. And there's no time like the present to hop on in, and especially when it comes to Japanese. Japanese is, you have your large growing trending communities. So if it's company that you may want and enjoy with others, it is certainly something worth sharing. So who knows, you could even practice your Japanese and whatnot by describing RuneScape to people. RuneScape is still a mainstay in my opinion. I know I mentioned RuneScape a couple of times. I like to look at people's channels if they have a social presence, and usually I've informed myself substantially enough to use whatever is available that they're willing to talk about, which is what you share publicly. So it would be kind of fun to see someone learn Japanese by integrating it with RuneScape. I'm not sure if I encountered someone who did it with Minecraft or like Roblox or something, but RuneScape is certainly one of the mainstays. I haven't played RuneScape in so long. I left it behind for World of Warcraft. Naturally, World of Warcraft came around right around the time I went to college, so there's that. But that would be a great way to combine your interest. As a personal share, I started learning Japanese and Chinese, like reading how to read Japanese and Chinese. And the last thing, the most recent thing that occurred was because I played Like a Dragon, the Yakuza Like a Dragon series. So my motivations and stuff are, in fact, integrating language learning with video games. So this is more of a personal idea than some sort of objective, like, hot take on how to successfully learn a language or keep consistent. Just an idea. It would be really fun to see how someone who enjoys RuneScape find clever ways to learn Japanese at the same time.
龟囧
Jong. We had one other Jong. So this is like the super special sound. Now the question is it related to the other Jong? No, it's not. I don't think it's mustache. What was the other Jong? I realize this is not the greatest way to look at it. Let's go look at this over here. T is very common initial. More common than the other, quite a lot of others. Where is Jong? Well, I guess I can just type it in, honestly, since it's the only one. There's only one other at the moment, which is poor. Oh, it's the monarch. Monarch and special container. Dang. Alright. Well, let's get on the mustache. I think we can use mustache. I feel like mustache is a standalone, right? Oh, it's not. Interesting. Okay. Alright. Jimmy Neutron is in the basement of the temple. Okay, where is too dark to inspect the relics there. So he gets the mustache of Einstein. Okay, that's a little... Let's see. Jimmy Neutron is in the basement of the temple, where he had devised a brilliant idea to solve the lack of light in the temple basement. He demonstrated how the hair from the monks' mustaches can be repurposed to fuel fires and torches to make the basement brighter. Bright idea. Brilliant idea. It turns out burning protein creates turns out burning protein smells really bad. Jimmy, our archetype for Jimmy is he comes up with an idea, he thinks it's brilliant, but there's a trade-off, and that was a setup. I don't know if anyone has ever burned keratin from your hair, but it smells pretty bad. Like burning protein is not the greatest smell. No.
囧婚
Hun. That does look like Hun. No, that doesn't. Yun. I'm thinking of Yun. So Hun. Chariot. I think we can do carry instead. No, carry requires a way. Oh no. Oh, we could do army though. Yeah, Jin. An army of flowers. Neat. Okay. Infirmary. Okay, so we got this. So Hulk, front of infirmary, where he is carrying flowers, meat, and fish. We'll just say and fish for the recent army that helped with a villainous attack. Collected these provisions in hopes to help the army recover. Right? Hulk it is. Alright. When
婚 Jing
Jing. That does look like Jing. Cinder. Jing with the fire. We can use Jing, which is exhausted. I think it's exhausted. Where are you, Jing? Yeah, to exhaust. So, Cinder, Fire, Jing. Jimmy Neutron is in the bathroom of the infirmary, where he thought, great idea to help exhaust the exhausted staff and and patients to develop a special eternally burning, I don't know, let's say perpetual. Let's not do internal. Internal, it's gonna end up getting magic and stuff. Perpetually burning cinder that creates a soothing aromatic to invigorate the spirits of the medical staff and patients. Unfortunately, the cinders ended up becoming a fire hazard. I'm really feeling making these Jimmy Neutron mnemonics.
静
Okay.
派
Sound of waves.
静
Cinders.
囧
Okay.
灰 婚
Alright. Next one.
四
Si. That does look like a si. Largely for take charge. Si. Yeah. Or si for take charge. So we're gonna do take charge in air. Interesting. That'll line up pretty well. Booklet and mouth. We're in the house, so SpongeBob is in the bathroom of the house where he is left to take charge of booklet. Of the house. First rule of order was for him to, as heir. First rule of order is heir to the bathroom of the house. He ordered his minions, we'll just say minion instead of Patrick, by word of mouth, to get a booklet to record down every single one of his silly demands, like more water for the bathtub. They're also underwater, so that's kind of comical.
四骚
Sol, scratch. Sol lines up with the other Sol. Disturb. I think it's disturb. We'll use the folding stool. Folding stool is kind of nice. Where's Sol? Pretty sure Sol is here it is. Disturb. And it's exchanging a horse for Sol. I'm actually kind of curious. Is this combination on the right stand alone? It does. It's Dal. Ooh. A flea could work. Flea is a weak character, so we can integrate Flea into it. So SpongeBob is in front of the barn. It's gonna be a bit of growing pains because I have to get used to seeing Flea, and Flea is a weak one. Usually I would tie it to something stronger, but I need to know Flea. So SpongeBob front of barn, where he was rolling around in the mud with all the farm animals. Unfortunately, he didn't consider how he would catch fleas from rolling in the dirt with other animals. He used his fingers to try to scratch and ultimately spread fleas everywhere. Scratch. Okay.
So
I was gonna say something about like scratching pieces of him off because he's a
So.
sponge. So I did something about the right hand. I don't remember what it is. The right hand can be simplified to something. And it's a weak character, so it didn't come to my mind what it is until I had to see it. Oh, is it? No, it's not. Yeah. Or maybe not. Maybe it doesn't stand alone. No, it doesn't stand alone. We do have a soul though for shuttle. That was the newest one. I think there might be another one. Surprising that this combination isn't alone. Let's take a quick scan again. No, I don't see an obvious one. Is it later? No. Okay. So we'll line it up with shuttle. I swear I used something else. What did I use here? Oh, it's allow. Wait, allow. What? Oh, it's actually not. Oh, that's why I screwed up on shuttle. Allow is yin. It's not that. Okay, so I might have to rewrite these. That's why it's not recognizable when the last time I did this. So how can I do something about this? Elbow and legs. Where he helped build a way to shuttle to drop. Okay. He took some tree, he maybe like he used some elbow grease. I think elbow is just gonna be elbow grease from now on. Like effort. Some elbow grease and leg work by taking some trees. Yeah. We're just gonna do labor, basically. It kind of flows kind of well with the foreman. By taking some trees, super strength to makeshift bridge with the help of the office foreman. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do here. Instigate. Interesting. So Superman is in front of the office building. Yeah, I don't like the way Kevin constantly makes the pieces of like dismemberment is a really floating appendages, and dismemberment is what Kevin relies on when it comes to body parts, and I think that's not sufficient for me. So Superman is in front of the office building where he is busy applying some elbow grease and leg work with the office foreman on building a place for the local shuttle. However, there are some office workers who are instigating and calling by word of mouth. No. They're instigating and voicing their disagreements. Word of mouth with Superman making them look bad. Something like that.
缩破
Poor. Okay. Closest thing for poor is probably pressure or something. No. Maybe like compel. Yeah, compel and pressure. I don't know of anything else. Okay. Poor is the closest thing. We can use white. Oh no, that's gonna be white by default. Okay, Patrick Star is in the bathroom of the office building where he's washing the office scepter. It is completely white, topped with a bright amber gem. Patrick removes it from the water and begins polishing the white amber scepter with his tie there in the bathroom. Okay. So this is going to be a bit of a problem because there are multiple gems that also deal with a scepter. Like a jade, I think. And glass. coral. Yeah, so there's jade, coral, green jade, glass, and now amber. So scepter is not the greatest. So the right has to be more identifiable. Identifiable to poor. Amber. Guess we'll see. I was gonna do something with like Patrick being fascinated with white amber somehow. White amber is also a color. It's gonna
破
complicate things.
丙
Being Whirlpool is bad news bears. Most of the Whirlpool ones are bad news bears. So being would be no different, I think. Yeah, it's on its own. Okay. Reports being Bigfoot is in the basement of the English Manor where he is submitting his report on what is going on in the English Manor. Bigfoot. He goes up to a lid and lifts it up, removing a small whirlpool. He puts his report, which is carved into a very long grain saw, into the whirlpool. Okay. Yeah, whirlpool is tough. I think we're just gonna use return from now on. Yeah, let's just use return. Whirlpool is yikes. So Bigfoot is in the basement of Manor where he has learned how to collect and return grain stocks from the outdoor farms in the immaculate courtyard to a storage container in the basement. A lid container. Storage container in the English Manor and provide a report inventory to his employers who are also sheltering him. Okay. What's your Bigfoot archetype?
丙
Alright.
四 缩 或 丙 骚
Alright. Next set.
居
G. It does look like G. Specifically G. Or ancestor off of the... Not ancestor, but related to ancestor. Off the book. Or Chew. I guess G. G. Is this G or G? G. Yeah, off of Stop and Chew. That's kind of tough. Moreover is so tough to use. Maybe we can combine Moreover with the bookshelf. And Moreover is not that great as a standalone character. And it actually, Moreover is only classically used as a very common set of characters. Yeah. 而且 and 况且 况 yeah 况且 more so moreover 而且 more than 况且 and that's about that's about the only use of this character like I can think of, and it's so common, so I need to lock this in. 况且 而且 let's try to incorporate moreover but keep the other things going. Julius Caesar is in front of the house where he lies in wait behind a bookshelf that's on the lawn. A poodle comes up slowly to the bookshelf and Caesar lies in wait until it gets close enough for him to jump out and grab it. It'll be one of his dogs of war. Okay, so Julius, I'll modify this a little bit. Julius is in front of the house where he lies in wait for his poodle. By outdoor porch, say. He lies in wait next to a bookshelf. Moreover, when poodle arrives, he breaks out a book and read to his poodle about his legacy. Right, we're usually talking about his legacy. And possibly also future plans for that his poodle will partake in. Sure, something like that. Lies in wait.
居后
As opposed to thinking about it as ambushing, just lying in wait is fine. Oh, the last ho was queen, right? Oh, that could have taken out context. We're talking about ho, the pronunciation ho, not ho, the English word ho. The last ho, the pronunciation ho was for the meaning queen. Okay, meet unexpectedly. We're gonna integrate queen here. So Harry Potter is in the bathroom of the bakery where he is taking a break from learning the ways of baking special magical croissants. He unexpectedly meets the queen in the bathroom of the bakery. For whatever reason, it's a co-ed bathroom, possibly. Where he was immediately educated on the way of royal courtesy, where royal etiquette comes to interacting with, let's say, the fairy queen, just to throw in a bit of magic. The fairy queen.
后晚
One. Okay, that does look like a one. I think we're gonna use even. Oh no, it's a void if we're gonna use that. A void is kind of weak. So let's do a void. Draw a carriage. Like pulling it? Okay. So Walter White is in the basement of the pawn shop, where he is trying to find a way to avoid drawing a carriage of his products without raising no. Find a way to draw a carriage of his special product with that and avoid raising suspicions. Maybe like instead of using a car while avoiding raising suspicions of his trade, he was able to devise a plan that combines the use of a car to draw a carriage at a, I don't know, a parade.
晚
Hmm.
午
Not quite. There is a wu for sundial, I think. Yeah, for noon. Wu. So... Oh, I forgot about... Oh, no. I was thinking of Shu. Alright. So noon. Let's do noon. Disobedient. Walter White is in the basement of the house where he is expecting at noon he's expecting to punish a disobedient soul at noon for double crossing him and skimming off the top of his profits trade. Okay. Alright.
午
So obedient.
吃
Chu. And that's just Chu. Does that look like Chu? It kind of looks like Chu. For red, we're just gonna say red mouth. Alright. Charlie Brown is in front house where unfortunately his mouth is completely crimson red and swollen because his mouth was stung by a bee. Chi, how do I do chi? By the bees kept by his friend, by his neighbor. Oh, goodness gracious. Alright. So the bee,
吃
the red swollen mouth, bee, true. Okay, that's kind of a tough one. Probably the weakest one of the bunch. Oh, that's G. G.
午 居 晚 吃后
Alright.
脚
Jiao. Okay, that does look like a jiao, but how is this different from? Oh, it's the flip of xiao. Whoa, that is gonna be a problem. We could use jiao for mingle. Yeah. Yeah. Mingle, huh? So Jimmy is in the cellar of the where he is trying to help out the beautiful woman that is the proprietor, the barn owner. Where he is trying to help out the beautiful woman that is the barn owner with taking care of cellar store. He was able to help the beautiful with all the wool yarn that was collected from the sheep barn. The beautiful yarn. The beautiful wool yarn collected from the beautiful sheep. You don't know if you will jump back into Japanese. You recently wanted to learn to draw and try to play the piano. That's fair. You feel if you pick up Japanese again, it'll be too much for you, so you'll drop them all. I see. So, have you already picked up how to draw and play the piano? How are you going about doing that? I would say it's kind of related to whether you can keep up with Nihongo's chart is very similar. The underlying principle behind trying to learn to draw and learn to play the piano involves the aspect of learning. Right? Sorry, I had to cough.
脚 哼
When do you plan on starting on those things? Pung? Didn't I have another pung? Wait, why is this registered as heart? Okay, that's an error. So we'll have to rewrite. It's fine. Didn't we have another pung? Oh no. It's not another pung. Okay. I thought we had pung pung. Just pung name. Let's see. We can still ping level. Level is not the greatest. It's certainly a little bit better than yard sign. Maybe not. I think we're okay with yard sign. We have to rewrite this because they're using heart, which for whatever reason that ended up being heart. Patrick is in front of the manor where he is hanging out with his rich this rich kid named Peng. Puts up yard signs. Patrick, he helped the rich soul put up yard signs to annoy the English manner staff and Hung's parents. That trick is to be like that, right? So Hung
哼，表
Biao. Yeah, Biao for express, which is the right hand one. Express. Biao. Where's Biao? Right here. Biao. Surface. Let's use surface. Mount and suit. That might be a little tough. Let's see. Bigfoot is in the cellar of the barn, where he is learning to wear a proper suit or attire to work at the barn. He helps with the, I'm guessing this is like mount as in mounting on top of things, as opposed to mount as in figurative mounting, like stacking of things. I think it could be end up being both. So let's use both. While he helps with the mounting labor work, and also how to mount horses and horses to help with the labor and animals. Bigfoot learning things.
表
Okay.
电
Dian can kind of look like Jiang, but this Dian with a scepter. There is another Dian with fortune, long for. And then there's Dian for store, but still Jiang for fortune. We can use, it's already default to fortune for Jiang. Let's look at this. Diddy Kong is in the bathroom pawn shop sitting on toilet. He opens up his fortune that he bought at the pawn shop and reads it. It says he will get a flawed scepter soon. Soon enough, a scepter falls from the ceiling. Now he knows the flaw. It got dirty in the toilet and smells like poo. Yeah. With piano and drawing, you're trying to do the action more compared to researching the subject. Oh, that is a very, that's definitely a start for sure. So for drawing, your practical is 1 point perspective box drawings. I see 30-second gesture drawings, and your theory is muscle groups named, the row is muscle group names for hopefully to learn bodies better. Anatomy and doing without over researching. That's great. It sounds like you're on your way. How long have you been working on your drawing so far? What kind of subjects are you drawing when it comes to the muscle and stuff? Does it happen to be female? And I don't mean this in like a weird way, but I'm kind of alluding to some behavioral coincidences. If it's not Japanese, it's actually quite coincidental so far that the alternative activity you have is drawing, piano, and then also you're starting with point perspective and then body drawings, anatomy drawings. So perhaps a character that you like Maybe a specific female character in a long-standing anime series or manga series, perhaps. Maybe a tie-in with a video game, or the other way around. Obviously, it could be vastly different. The chances are fairly high that these coincidences occur because the last 23-ish out of 30 people also had the same progression when it comes to their extracurricular activities. You feel it's connected? It explains why I got my channel recommendation. What do you mean? That's kind of a curious. What do you suppose the algorithm gave you? Like, I do draw. I don't draw those things though. But that would be one of those things. And I do play video games. Although I'm not the target demographics for the other stuff. However, right now I'm speaking both anecdotally from a third person's perspective and myself, first person. So I do play an instrument, multiple instruments actually, but I don't play them currently. Like, I don't play the piano currently. I was a violinist and I had played guitar as well. Primarily acoustic guitars. I don't have any electric guitars. The things that I'm listing are considered like behavioral coincidences because of like online things. One of my prevailing theories is that exposure to consistent online algorithms can create pre-selected behavior that is coincidence. And I often ask if the person has any coincidences and correlations with these patterns. And it's often interesting to see if when the person deviates away from algorithmic coincidences. Like for myself, my background is in science. So what deviates away from like the correlation between these things is that I spent most of my time in education. One of the larger correlations behaviorally for these things is that the person is not that joyful or happy about formal education. They typically withdraw for formal education. That would be a bigger leap. So if you have more coincidental behaviors, one of the presumptions is that you also aren't really that fond of formal education. And that's where I typically deviate away from the correlation, which is I absolutely stand by and form my foundation on formal education. It's largely the type of things I share with, not coincidentally, people like you, Crocodile, with these behavioral patterns. The things I share about consistency, right? Being consistent and knowing how to iterate, refine, and expand is all largely lessons that one often learn from formal education. So like high school to college to graduate school situation. Well, you want to draw realistic people and landscapes, not particularly anime characters, but you like anime, so you watch their videos. Here's the thing about realistic people. Anime has realistic anatomical proportions. They tend to accentuate it, but typically the whole idea of anime is not necessarily the anime that you're watching that exaggerates proportions, but those who draw anime, their first line of discipline is learning human anatomy. Like one of the crowning jewels of anime, right? Like Miyazaki and stuff. Miyazaki, the reason why their work is exceptional is because they understand anatomical movement. So when you take that into consideration, typically anime is realistic. It's incredibly realistic when it comes to anatomy. Now, what is unrealistic is its level of depth, as in like its detail. Like we're not talking about hyperrealism, where um, the other part of anime style is that it is simplified for the idea of animation. The animation requires simplification. Otherwise, you can't really draw a hyper-realistic model over and over again by hand. Although you can most definitely now use like rigging and combine like hybridization with post-processing and like rigging models to create 2D animation that has the realistic textures and realistic aspects of people. But I think that's one of a common misconception, where that somehow anime does not have like proper anatomical studies. What makes not necessarily all anime, right? We're not generalizing too much. The substantial body of people, like influential anime artists, they have unbelievable anatomical understanding. That's what makes their animation then become very that you understand animation well through anatomy and weight. I do absolutely love landscapes though. I typically draw landscapes most of the time. My subjects are like, for example, you know, you have a landscape, right? I usually use this as a, so you have a cliffside, and then my people would be like this, right? You just like draw a bunch of nice, funny landscapes, maybe like a floating pavilion, right? Some like surrealistic take on like a landscape, but then my subjects would be like tiny. It would be like silhouettes. They're like very tiny, tiny people here and there. So I do quite, and that's also part of anime. One of the characteristics of Japanese art is that the landscape are typically hand painted things. Back in the day, they're still kind of hand painted for the most part. Most of the backgrounds are hand drawn as well. More modern anime uses things like screen tones and post-processing as well to save on animation time. But I am quite a big fan of landscapes, especially how landscapes can speak to the scope of the things. So while you're probably gonna get way more experience in anatomical things, I do not actually understand how to draw human beings that well at the moment. The landscapes, oh, definitely. It's so satisfying. Do you have any particular like things that inspire you on drawing? Since you said not particularly anime characters, how are you going about your landscape and people drawing? What are your references? Like how are you doing your references? Your referencing. For the record, when I say draw, I draw things using digital arts, right? But I don't draw as a hobby. So I want to be a little bit clear. Maybe I'm not even sure if my drawing is considered a hobby yet. So I'm not regular with drawing. I do it as kind of like a meditative exercise. So I'm not formally trained or anything like that. I didn't study like point perspective. No perspectives. No perspectives yet. Maybe some color theory. I'm okay with some color theory. Some lighting principles, possibly. Lighting principles, things like shadows and whatnot. You can it's in the channel, so it's every October. every October I do my own personalized Inktober thing. So Inktober, I don't know if you come across this, but Inktober, the site, the person who started it, I suppose, usually they give you a prompt for each day of October, and that's what I do. That's the amount of drawing that I do. So this will be the 5th year, I think, that we're going to be doing it. It started on a whim. I met someone briefly who introduced me to what they were doing, introduced me to Inktober, and they were people who did artwork. So then I did it, and I just continued doing it each year. So every month of October, I spent every day doing the Inktober prompts. And that's the extent of my artwork. So most of the time, artwork is just filled with references, or like I look at references, I combine them, I draw them, one per day, and then I post them. It's pretty wild, how much one, like 2 to 3 hours a day for a month each year can present itself. So I look forward to seeing your drawings, possibly. Do you plan on doing something with that, like sharing or something? I'm not entirely sure what your professional background is. Maybe you're still exploring your professional background, but I would imagine that drawing and piano might be part of your form of self-expression in the future. And it would be really fun to see your progress in that. I am right now talking to someone who's not very recently, I think they're a couple years in now. They're working on a family cartoon. Danny Gonzalez, and he's been trying to work on it like on a regular basis while he's working like a full-time job, and you can kind of see his progress as he's going. He recently shared like his team's like music intro that they're working on. I hope to see his family cartoon become a reality maybe sometime in another couple years. You wanted to learn originally for fan art like 15 years ago. Now you wanted to learn drawing through the fundamentals with a focus on people and landscapes. I see. Are there any particular people, like you say fan art 15 years ago, so that is kind of like your Japanese 5 years ago. What makes the 15 years ago bring back your desire to draw? Did something particularly spark your interest in the last 15 years? The reason I drew is pretty superficial. I started drawing because I needed to make something for the channel 7 years ago. So I started with powering up MS Paint, and then maybe a year and a half later did it again, and then we moved to Krita, right? And then a year after that is when I met that one dude. We no longer talk, but I met that one dude, and then now most of the artwork that you see are made by me, but they were typically through the pursuit of keeping up a tradition. I like that there's something that I can look forward to or prep each year. So every year I get ready, I collect my thoughts, like look at references and stuff, talk about anime, play video games and whatnot, and then I dump all of those ideas in the month of October. This my like thing with drawing. So I don't actually draw 11 months out of the year. I'm curious if you have something like that to keep you motivated and interested as you're going. Maybe a particular artist or someone like, say, Sam does art. He does a particular blend of people and landscapes and a singular subject. Or there's this particular guy that I really enjoy because his is like more of a silhouette dominant landscape artist. We're talking about new age people here, so not necessarily traditionalists. His name was Derek Dominic. Derek Dominic De Souza. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he does some really wonderful things. Usually he has command of the form, so you know, you do things like this where you have large landscapes in the background, right? You have long landscapes, but then there's like the foreground, which creates like a fence, right? And then he would have a subject silhouette around here, sitting down, maybe hair, and then a book stand or something overlooking the past. Really, really excellent stuff. And I took quite a lot of inspiration from how this guy commands silhouettes. So you can basically still do a really quick drawing, and then maybe a fence here, right? And then all of this would be then you could have a lens effect in front of it, so you're peering through the lens to someone in the distance who's sitting at a mid-ground, and then all the way in the back are huge buildings. So you would separate them into 3 perspectives and you layer them on each other. And that's kind of some of the stuff that I've been working on recently, as opposed to like point perspective. This would be like, no, just be in, right? It's layer perspective. You have your doodle page from today if you'd like to see. I haven't thought to share while still early on, TBH. Oh yeah, no pressure, no pressure. You're always welcome to do so. I'm genuinely just curious how, like, where your mind is, like where your thoughts are about that. No pressure though. I would love to like tell people or talk to people about their stuff. I like to get to know the people, and then don't worry, I do talk people up all the time. Don't worry, it's usually in a very it's how I remember people. I enjoy seeing people's work, and as they're going about, I can tell other people, like maybe I could find 2 people who like to do the same thing or complement each other, like get them together. I often find that one of the greatest sources of motivation and like extra privileges about the creative arts is to get closer to other people who enjoy similar things. It can be very lonely sometimes, right? In a good or bad way, depending on what your current state is. So I like to pick people's brains about what they inspires them. And if you have particular people who inspires you, the way I can get closer, right, to understand you better is if there's a chance I might know the other person. Like I know the other like parasocial reference. So that's why I was kind of alluding to like anime and stuff. Maybe there's some specific things that can help me empathize a bit. We call it like some sort of informal platonic speed dating technique. That's why I landed on the RuneScape thing right away, because you already recorded RuneScape videos on your channel, so that was a great way to start the discussion. Kind of a quick icebreaker, very quick icebreaker. It's part of my routine. And piano. How about the piano? Where's the piano coming along? Diddy Kong is in the bathroom of the pawn shops. Oh, wait. We have to rewrite this. This is not the greatest. I think we're gonna go with... Let's see. DK is in the bathroom pawn shop where he happened to acquire a fortune of flawed riches from stealing from... Is the guy name is Crocodile? I'm pretty sure it's Crocodile. They're just playing Crocodile in the Donkey Kong universe? Or what was his name? Oh, it's Kremling. No, it's King Rule. Oh yeah, K Rule. I believe he's a crocodile. We're gonna use King Rule. King Rule's palace. Hoping to clean it up a bit and sell to the pawn shop for some bananas. You see, you're on mobile, so unfortunately you can't reply fast. Good practice, I guess. No worries. No worries. Like, no pressure at all, obviously. I like challenging myself to see if I can immediately get some sort of thread of empathy. Like somehow we can connect and run through some of the likely hosts of likely suspects to get one. And you just post and the people share? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Are you talking about like the Discord? Yeah, feel free. Danny will probably have something to say about it because Danny is very much interested in art as well. So definitely feel free. You are always talking. Oh. Mika is also an art student. So the person that you see that was talking about Discord. Yeah, I see it here. So Mika, the one that you see above that was posting about the Discord, she is currently an art student. And she's also working. She spent a lot of her time working on anatomy at first. She hasn't worked on perspective, but she's in art class. So she has art class that are working on like folds and perspective and landscape. She has to work on an environment currently. So all of that sketching will most definitely be something that she might be interested in looking at. Yeah, I see what you mean. I see a bit of I see you did some cloth sketching as well. Intriguing. Or at least I think that's cloth sketching. Oh, it will be quite interesting to see how you guys interact. Right now there are 3. I know of 3 people who kind of converse that you post this. Actually there's also Blair. Blair also does artwork, but she doesn't share as much. So Blair, Mika, you, and Danny are the people who do artwork at the moment. And it'll be interesting how you guys interact while you're doing it. Right now, I'm sure Mika is okay with me sharing. Mika is like working on an art project right now where it involves doing like a kind of a thematic thing using a subject and an environment that tells one of her subject matters, which deals with like gazing into the distance. So very neat. Thank you for sharing, by the way, Crocodile. And you are more than welcome to show off your work in the Discord. I will most definitely be keeping an eye on that. And obviously you're free to do it. I typically encourage the person to also do it in their own like way as well, like be it on YouTube or something. I think as long as you're comfortable with other people having their opinions, but personally I find that if there's anything useful, it's always having someone who who likes or communicates that they look forward to your next thing. I think that is a priceless source of motivation. Not that you sound like someone that needs it, right? It's always nice to have someone freely offering it. Do you do anything in the meantime? Are you doing anything in the meantime, like studies, school, job, like work, something entirely unrelated?
电表
Oh, great. I learned another character for prostitute. Thanks. Oh, 表. Oh, okay. Alright. So, what is that? Expression? Oh, you know what? I didn't write expression for the other 表.
表
Did I? Or was it surface? Oh, it was surface. Yeah, I didn't use surface. Maybe I should use expression. Yeah, I forgot to incorporate surface here. Suit that properly express on the surface. Appropriate. So then now we need surface here. Let's see. Bigfoot. Bigfoot is in the cellar once again of the barn, where he is with a woman. There's no delicate way of doing this, huh? Where he has found himself in a situation trying to help out a woman prostitute take refuge in the cellar of the barn, trying to express on the surface his concerns, her situation, how she came about the cellar of the barn. Okay. You work in a sushi restaurant and try to make sure your kids are happy? Oh, okay. Leaves not much time to try these creative processes. That's understandable. Another goal is for your kids to see you fail and keep with your new hobbies. That is most definitely a very encouraging life lesson for sure. Understanding the importance of demonstrating like commitment, accountability, and persistence, right? Something I do feel, I don't know how old your kids are, but I typically talk about younger adolescents and the imagery and the messages that they are getting if they are chronically online. right? Like, I'm not suggesting that your kids are chronically online, but typically there's a exaggerated exposure to certain type of messaging, and one of them is that most things just keep working out, but that's not quite the reality, right? uh, what you see online are all the successes. You rarely ever see the failures and the persistency and consistency necessary to achieve those end results. Things are quite immaculate behind the frame. Not suggesting that all content and all content creators are like that. However, the representation is far more selective for quick results, the hustle culture. So it is very wonderful to see an alternative goal to demonstrate to your kids the rewards of overcoming or consistent, getting up from falling down, etc. See, you're a family man. A sushi restaurant. I wouldn't. Somewhere in my mind, it wasn't too far off. The sushi restaurant is definitely very coincidental. My parents were American Chinese restaurant operators. They're Fujianese, and Fujianese are the second largest wave. It's like the most modern and contemporary wave of Chinese immigrants in the United States. They operate what you would probably be very familiar with as the Americanized Chinese takeout wave. And now it's not exclusive to the United States. It's the highest concentration in the United States. However, when you have Fujianese people from a specific area in China move to other countries like Australia and the UK, those Fujianese people are networked with other Fujianese people. So that type of food that you might be very familiar with, especially if it's catered for Western palate, if you consider yourself someone who has a Westernized palate, like Australians, British people, and Americans may have, that are very classically similar in some way, shape, or form. Fujianese people tend to operate their immigration to other countries, tend to operate in a way where they tweak the similar network dishes to meet the palate of the group. So my parents' background actually came from operating a restaurant. My parents are the examples of the rare stereotype of the American dream, the one where immigrants come to the United States, they work really hard day in, day out, and then make their fortune happen, raise children that don't work in the restaurants anymore. So like me and my sibling does not work in a restaurant, and we are both highly educated individuals. So despite that, I have a soft spot for people who work in food industry, especially people who prepare food or serve food, the likes. Kudos on keeping up with a job, keeping your kids happy, and at the same time juggling hobbies. I am not someone who has family, so still a single person, never married. However, I am in that age where the only thing I ever talk about are kids. Like, what I mean is, I simply care, like the calling, the reward is to educate kids. Like, I don't think that really changed when I was younger. I always wanted to be some sort of person who disseminate information. That's why I pursued science. The pursuit of knowledge was to pass on knowledge, not necessarily to accrue the knowledge for my own reward. I mean, it's great to learn new things and seek mysteries and discover things, for sure. It's secondary to passing on that information to kids, and it's only become more and more exaggerated as I'm getting older and older. Like right now, most of my colleagues, this is something that occurs. I don't know if it occurs in Australia, but a lot of the developed countries, especially when you're around like academically and financially successful people, they typically don't have children. So nearly all of my colleagues have decided not to have children. However, that still doesn't like avoid the talk of children. So we constantly talk about children because pretty much all of my colleagues now and my friends are middle-aged people. So they still like talking about kids and talk about how to help out kids. So that's kind of where I spend most of my time. I look at and observe younger people's behavior as well as older adults, but generally speaking, not that much older than I would say. It would be rare if I have a conversation with someone who's like 30 plus. Occasionally, I would have the privilege of their time, but typically, when you think of people who are 30 or 40, they have a lot of other things to do, like such as yourself, right? So it can be a rarity to find time to sit around and chat with maybe other adults who have different life circumstances. For myself, the reason why I can do this is probably because I don't have kids of my own. It definitely doesn't stop me from using most of my time interacting with university students and trying to try to help them out with some form of encouragement or critical thinking skills or problem solving skills. That's kind of what I do now. I do come across as a teacher. You gathered that through your Wanikani stream one. Oh yeah, that's right. You're coming into your 30s this year. Most of your friends don't have kids. Yeah, none of my, like, the vast, pretty much 99% of my colleagues do not. They legitimately just decided if we don't have kids before they turn 30, which they are all 30 plus. I'm about to be in my 40s. Next year I turn 40. So nearly all of them have already passed 35. So basically they all decided not to have children. And it's kind of a bittersweet thing. And I don't know if I can speak as a tangential point because I haven't ever been a parent. But when I see parents, it's both the most stressful thing they can do, but as well as the most rewarding thing they can have. So hopefully your kids are just that, you know. You would do everything for your kids. For myself, yeah, I would do anything to make younger people happier, right? Like, because watching them grow and watching them do things, even if it's not my own kid, right? Like, since I don't have a biological kid, it's so rewarding when you get older. Like, the older you get, the more and more it's fantastic, at least in my opinion personally. It's fantastic seeing the next generation get excited and do things. Obviously, we have to take it with a grain of salt. Nowadays, it doesn't look so bright, personally. Like, especially kids that are younger than like 25 online, it doesn't look so bright for their mental health, and that's what I usually speak about most of the time. I'm trying to like spend some time doing something that seems hard, but it's offset by the reward of doing it. So not the curated like happy-go-lucky, everything always works out, but more so, I think this might change in the future. Like, obviously online is changing rapidly on where is the online's role in kids' education and like exposure and behavior. However, I have a consistently growing concern about an unintended consequence of internet exposure. And that's not because anyone was maliciously doing it per se, it's after the fact, right? Humans have to respond to technology. Sometimes when humans develop a technology and pursue that technology, it comes with consequences that are later the problems to be solved later. So you solve a problem to create new problems, and that's kind of the cycle of humanity. And that's kind of what I do commentary on. So the whole like Wanikani thing, when you were watching my 400-day Wanikani, the idea is when you reach a certain age, like when you go to college, that's, in my opinion, what you're what is encouraged. You have to understand why you make decisions. Both the information you collect, the information you collect to inform your decision, and the things you bring to the table. You have to understand to exercise that. It is in my opinion, it is consistently worth to have the ability to take in information, synthesize the information, and compare it with your existing experience. Otherwise, you lose agency in your life. So, and that's my like nonchalant way of demonstrating that if you feel like you have no choices and your choices and agency is dictated by something that is mechanical or data based, some part of your development, your critical thinking and problem solving development is missing. Or it's missing if it's upsetting. Like if you're upset, then it's missing, it's deficient. If you're not upset and you're perfectly fine with like following whatever internet trend and it's just working for you, that's fair. So specifically, I'm targeting or speaking about those who fall through the cracks, and that happens far more often than those who are successful at this moment. So that whole like long drawn out philosophical stuff, that's a common occurrence for me, especially with trivial things. Like you might be thinking, oh, Wanikani, that's a trivial decision. Like, I know you're supposed to be able to do this with all of your decisions. And then when the time comes when you have to make a really tough decision, a really life-changing decision, you're well practiced in it. So that's kind of where high school, college, graduate school, those things are supposed to present challenges to you that otherwise you wouldn't take. And then those challenges are typically supposed to promote that. And that's what the PhD stands for. Like when someone asks me often, like, oh, what do you think? You must be really smart. What did you learn in your PhD? That's what I learned in my PhD. You learn how to critically think and problem solve. Whether it's about a particular discipline, much like Japanese, drawing, and piano, the context of piano playing, like Japanese and drawing, they're interchangeable. They are the discipline. How you approach it as a person and gather that human experience is typically what you go through in the rigor of pursuing something. So to echo what you said about showing your kids what it's like to fail and keep on going with new hobbies and whatnot, that is the essence of pursuing a high degree in something. You have setbacks, you have problems to solve, and you consistently do that until you make it. So hopefully my goal is to translate that into doing something that anyone can do. Like, I don't want it to make it sound like it's a barrier. People shouldn't have barriers on what they decide to do. Is how they gather their reward and pursue a task that they want. So it could be language learning, it could be drawing. I pick up drawing randomly like 4 years ago, right? Like I deliberately, because someone said, hey, drawing is fun, let's do Inktober. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. By the way, that person I talked to, they stopped after 6 days. I just kept going. But that's most of the stuff that I do now is someone else said, this is a great idea. And I'm like, oh yeah, tell me about yourself. And then when they told me about what they wanted to do, I joined them. And then I do it. And if they decide to stop and stuff, that's perfectly fine. I just keep going. So most of the stuff that I'm doing, like language learning, was an offshoot of video games, which is an offshoot of So for you, if you're gonna share your artwork and whatnot, there might be something I'll do with that in October. What is my general age range for my content? Oh, my general age range. YouTube is very selective, so it's usually the analytics said 20, around 20. So the lower group, so 16 to 25 and like 90% male. That's. Do I get older people around you and your age? No, I don't. I think you're a second group. It's a second group. So like if I would say you take 10 people, right? 10 people. 7 of them would be less than 25, down to like 16. And then the other 3 would probably be 25 plus, which is up to 30. And an occasion, like you might be, oh, is this 100%? No, it's technically like 99.9%. There's generally the very rare person who's like 40 plus, like older than me, or right on top of me. And that's very rare. So typically the people that I speak to the longest happens to be this age range. The people I speak to inconsistently is this. And nearly all of them are university bound people who might be in their last year of high school. So around the age of 18. That's the most common range. And tonight or this evening when I'm done with this, I will be speaking to one of them. So most of the comments that I make are right in my wheelhouse. Basically, I was at a university and the vast majority of people I interact with were first year and second year college students. 10 years ago. Like, it's been over a decade. Or at the latest, it's been 7 years ago. And my major focus is the education of young adults. In any way possible. Because, and it's even more vivid now because I'm an older person. Like, now I contend with the idea that these kids, I can be their parents now because I'm 39. So now I'm a solid 2 decades older than the average person that I talk to. Like that is the relation I have now. Like I'm legitimately 2 decades older than the standard high school to university student. So I am a what you call it, an unk. I have breached the unk status. So now I frame things in unk status. Mainly unk because I'm that I would characterize myself as that person where I talk about fun things. I talk about good things because you don't see me all the time. You typically always see me at my highs and not at my lows. That's something their parents should be doing. You know, their fathers and mothers, they're always around all the time, and hopefully that those who interact with me get reminded that you gotta stay. That's one of the first things I ask about whenever it's a student that's a lot younger. I typically ask them if it's okay. May I ask, you have these problems. Where do your parents fit into this? Because they're the ones that will be the most, whether you know it or not, they are usually the most intimate people that can observe you. I usually refer to this as a support system, right? Kids, like even older adults, obviously, but it's very important to have a support system. So my focus is on communication skills most of the time. This goes really well with language learning. Video games is a form of communication, right? I know people don't see it that way, possibly. Any form of media is a form of communication skills. So how to analyze and take in information and then tell that and explain that is a form of communication. So nearly all at the end of long digressions will come back to communication skills, human communication skills. Not the same as what kids these days a lot of times qualify as communication skills, which is reading an article about people. That's very different than talking to people. Like talking to your parents, talking to your friends. Like, yes, we can be well educated or like well informed, right? You can be well informed. It rarely substitutes for human experience, especially a human shared experience. So this is where I would demonstrate what I would say to maybe someone in your age range. Have you considered your kids to join you in drawing and playing a piano? Does either of your kids want to play the piano or drawing? Because you could totally like have such a boon to all of it if you can include your kids. It can be incredibly heartwarming and also dramatically transformative when a child and their parents are able to bridge like their hobbies. It's quite rare now, actually. Fairly rare. Since the days of like going out to throw baseball, if you're an American, right? Baseball is a pastime, or like throwing a football, right? The American football as opposed to a rugby ball or something like that, right? Now it's like drawing, watching YouTube shorts, Netflixing together, running a Discord channel together, and that is a thing. So finding activities to do with your child it's kind of humorous here, but if you're asking what my audience is like, the audience, it's kind of a funny thing about having an audience. The content or like the thing that I typically talk about is trying to make people more independent. So inherently, if I have less people to talk to, it means that those people are healthy people. Usually I talk about things that are like problems. So most of the time, the conversation is about how to be consistent. Why is it so grindy? I think I'm burning out. Is there any way you can be consistent without being hard? So the irony here is my audience is very small because I genuinely think if I'm actually doing what I'm going out to do, then those people don't stick around because they're going off to do their thing. At least that's what I'm hoping to do. Where after talking to someone like you, the reason why the audience is not typically older, on the older side, is I actually think older people right now in this current landscape, if you're approaching your 30s and into your 40s, you have a higher propensity to be independent. You are like that. The group lives substantially apart from the internet to be dependent on the internet. So that's what I would say as an argument. Like, I'm not saying that people in their 30s and 40s don't find whatever I say interesting, but there's a pre-selection involved. The pre-selection is very, very heavy on younger people looking for direction in their life. Like, oh, I tried to learn Japanese last year, I gave up, now I'm going to try again. And my first question I would ask them is, what are you going to do differently this time? Did you learn something from the last time you did it? Which is the same question I proposed to you when you said it's been 5 years since you learned Japanese. Do you want to go at it again, only this time with some sort of learning experience from the previous time? And then you said, well, no, you kind of want to start drawing. But then I asked you the same question. How are you adapting your 15-year ago drawing as well as your recent dropping of your Japanese? Because all of those learning potential, like giving up and like pivoting and then juggling your life, all of them involve a very similar overlapping process of life lessons about being consistent in something. So you can, while you might not be learning Japanese anymore, the lessons you've learned from Japanese, like using Nihongo Shark or something, you can extrapolate that and apply it to your drawing, which then can be applied to your 15 years ago, like what happened then or across the time. I typically constantly ask people about their experiences, because if they can explain their experiences, it assures me that they have the capacity to be attentive in their lives. And that's what I focus on when I'm talking to someone younger, because life can move really fast and they can stop taking care of themselves. You're constantly thinking about the next thing without reflecting on what has come to pass. So oftentimes people look backwards in regret, but and then carrying that regret while looking forwards to hope to negate the regrets of what they have done in the past. To answer that, one of them is learning the drums. Oh, a family band? That would be very cute. Family band. And was the main reason you wanted to do piano? Nice. You had officially training for about a year when you were 6. Oh. Sounds like an interesting duet. Piano and percussion. And your little one just painted this on Discord? Ooh, hold on, let me see. Aw, interesting. Was I can see a great like, oh, this is very tropical. So it's a very tropical thing that can totally be the backdrop of a wonderful like a forest with occasional pink like maybe like a flower, like a camellia, like a camellia breaking through. I don't know what color a camellia is, but it's like a pink. There's like a maybe a sun being blocked by the. Your little one must be how old is your little one, may I ask? Very interesting choice of colors. I wonder what they were thinking. Kind of strikes me as like a combination of trees, blue sky, maybe a darker blue sky, maybe some sort of sun, and some piercing like flowers of some sort. There are two? Wow, two. Little one. Already painting. Very nice. Sounds like you got all the motivation you need. I think the underlying thing is, it sounds like you know you're on board with sharing your hobbies and stuff with your child or your children, right? I think right now one of the most common things that younger people like 18 to 23, they don't stick around if they're doing really well. They're typically, they come by to seek affirmation when they're doing really well. Those that don't do really well, they're one of the most common coincidences. Again, this is a correlation, right? These are correlation. They're estranged from their parents, like in a virtual way. They tend to be incredibly distant from their parents, and without that support system, I often feel like whether I'm a stranger or a really close friend online or whatever, it's typically incredibly inappropriate to not try to encourage them to share what they find comfortable sharing online that they already do, but definitely share it with their parents. I mean, I understand that not everyone has the privilege of. I really dislike having to admit this, but it's not often that everyone has parents that are able to be around. However, what I have to say is these particular children that find themselves very selectively online, their parents are actually are around even more frequently, and they use online tools to avoid them. And that's kind of what I am trying to work kind of indirectly against, like trying to find like, oh, you know what, you mentioned your father likes doing this and you like doing this, why not go and talk about it? Because who better to talk about when with someone you actually even share a roof with and constantly around? And I say the same if I ever bump into the reciprocal, like the reverse, where I'm speaking to a parent, right? I do speak to 2 or 3 other parents, and my first comment is always like, oh, so what do you do on your free time? And you're doing this, like, what about your children? Like, are they part of all of this? And usually they are. Like, so the ones that I interact with, that I talk with at length, they're already like awesome parents, and I'm sure you're an awesome parent to your children, considering that you're already going to start a piano with your your drumming child, and it looks like that artwork's coming along. It's fantastic to see. It's incredibly adorable. Like, I have my soft spot, like if I had to doom scroll something, I usually doom scroll things like that, watching parents and children create things together. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt. Not all content creation families they strike the balance of stuff. Occasionally you do find those, and it's incredibly heartwarming. Otherwise, I love watching like some mentor like giving instructions to a younger audience, and then watching them like collaborate off each other. Lots of the existing content creators, they're bridging into more of a modern life thing. So oftentimes what used to be lots of content that deals with a very specific age group, they typically branch to outreach to help like encourage kids. So like lots of cooking channels involve educating and trying to inspire the future generation of being interested in cooking, at least interested in cooking for themselves. That type of situation. So the internet is starting to change. Don't know where that's going, but it's certainly changing.
表
I don't know how often you have time to spend on the internet. I imagine this, like, again, I wanted to re-emphasize what I meant in the comments. Thank you for the privilege of your time, Crocodile, right? I imagine your time is a lot more compressed and demanding than my time. Since I don't have children and I don't have other obligations, I usually, this question is gonna come up eventually. I don't actually work right now. So right now, I would classify it as a voluntary sabbatical. Like, and I do mean voluntary. So it's not that I want to work and am unable to have work, but I have decided not to work at the moment in order to reinvest in building something or working on a social experiment. Multiple social experiments at the moment in the last couple years. You assume you just get paid from this? Oh yeah, no, I don't get paid anything for this. With the one asterisk, I do have on Twitch side, there are a couple like good friends and colleagues and one or two people that I usually try to contact to see if they understand that they're still like there, but usually this is completely free of anything. I'm supporting. The joke is I sponsor this. I often make this whenever someone says like, so how are you paying for all this? I'm like, it's sponsored by me. That's the idea. So there's no payment involved in this. You would have to be in a, I forgot what the statistics now is. You have to be in like the 90, I would say even the 95th percentile in order to make even a remote living, right? Because like car insurance is alone probably more than 80% of what streamers make. So and that's just car insurance, at least in the United States, the value of car insurance. But then we stack on health insurance, rent, food, that type of thing. Barely compare. However, as full disclosure, like nothing is monetized on my end. There's absolutely no monetization here. It's a fun little social experiment that I've been working on. And to answer some follow-up questions that would eventually come about, no, I can't do this forever. So at some point, yes, I would have to take into account going back to work or monetizing something or like doing something to support the thing if it becomes a thing. But at the moment, everything is an experiment. It's a social experiment. My idea is probably sometime in my 40s, I'll publish something. I'll write something. Turn all of this thing into something that is publishable without the need to demand monetization from anyone that followed along the way. Like, so that's kind of the idea. I would probably try to create or publish something from all the experiences as opposed to creating a dependency. I'm not a big fan of dependency, and one of the big dependencies in this modern industry, which may not be true in another 5 years, is subscriptions, like service-based contracts. I think it's overrepresented and it creates an unhealthy relationship and dependency on like FOMO and a warped sense of investment. Like, for example, the only way you can get someone to, say, learn a language, right, is to pay a monthly subscription. So then they are obligated to make the most of their month because they've already paid for the service subscription. That is a very low bar of motivation. It's a very unreliable bar of motivation too. So I'm quite a bit apprehensive in encouraging people to use that type of logic to get them to do something. That is very similar to getting paid to do something that you have to do versus getting paid to do something that you want to do or learn to like to do. Right? Well, how is the experiment going? Are you happy with your progress or findings? Very. I would say so. Here's the thing about being happy. I'm usually happy doing the thing. So I'm very happy doing the thing. Doing all this stuff has become incredibly rewarding. Whether my current findings, I'm sharing some of my findings as I'm going. So I've already shared quite a lot of findings with you when we were talking about the correlations. So like the corollary behaviors that I was talking about, starting with the whole Aussie and the UK thing. It's been quite rewarding. It helps me with communication skills. So I'm trying to build, it has to be demonstrated how the experiment is going. So the experiment is if you just happen to be around and you see me meet a new person, then the experiment is happening. So at some point, when in another 4 or 5 years, I would like to believe that I've collected enough experience in order to be reasonably excellent at doing the very thing we're doing right now, which is to hold a conversation, consistently talk about relevant topics with the person at hand, whether they will like need help or simply want to have some company, share in each other's achievements. That's the social experiment. The social experiment is what can be greater than having access to a classroom of students that are pre-selected for their aptitude. Go online and have a very large potential sampling size. They also undergo pre-selection online. Like, for example, you finding this channel is through the pre-selection of the algorithm. However, you are part of a larger pool that is much greater than the classroom of students that I used to get every single year. Like I become acquainted with the classroom of new students every year, right? They undergo pre-selection. All of them wanted to go to college or in some way had an incentive to go to college. They pre-selected themselves based on their their life experiences and what they're told was very effective or efficacious for their lifestyle. The internet does very similar to that. So the social experiment was to determine if I am able to learn sufficiently to do that with an even larger audience. So what more can you ask for than the internet? And then understanding all the algorithmic coincidences is how I'm leveraging the experiment. The experiment is to understand as many fundamental principles of pre-selection through mere exposure or psychology and behavior through the internet, using what I know about objectivity and data mining the internet, and then using it as a form of encouraging people through communication on exploring something outside of the internet. So how do you take advantage of the information? How do you understand what you're pre-selecting yourself for, right? Did you come to this channel based on something that is part of you? Or did you come to this channel entirely on coincidence of the algorithm? And that takes us back to the first questions I asked you, basically. I'm curious, when is it that the coincidences stop, right? The correlations stop, and then where the individualism or like the uniqueness of your decision making takes center stage. So I use all of the algorithmic stuff as icebreakers to get quickly jump into something that is unique to you. The reason why I do that personally is it's easier to remember you when it isn't a correlation of coincidental behavior, because a large majority of people will have those coincidental behavior. So the experiment here is, how can I remember the last 50 people I met this year or last year? Use all the algorithmic experiments that I can do in the background when I'm not streaming. Use that as a leaping point to immediately gather data that's unique to the person. As in, this is privileged information. So what you share right now with your drawings and your study is entirely unique to you. So the moment that happens, we've reached a state that I feel a large majority of people online never reaches. Like, they rarely ever get that opportunity. And I feel it's so common that it's no longer appreciated. Like, to make someone feel like they're important in the moment, not tomorrow, not yesterday, not if we could have met 3 years ago, not this would be different 5 years later, right now. So the idea is this type of interaction is not scalable on the online, and kids and adults alike no longer gets this type of experience anymore. And that is very, in my opinion, personally, I'm greatly biased about this. This is very important for human development. Like, you do not feel a sense of reward or belonging when you rarely and ever distinguish people from other people. Like, people stopped being people. They started being a list of things that you already know about them. So you come in and you're like, yeah, I already assumed this of you. And it's like, yeah, I assumed the same with you. So hi, and that's it. Next day, hi, hello, and that's it. That's as deep as a human connection can get. And personally, I think this will change in the future coming years. However, for now, that's what I'm setting up for. I genuinely believe there will be a large pushback and a compensation for the lack of human interactions that is being circumvented by technology at the moment. And there's going to be a price and a luxury, possibly even a premium on human interaction, that's the social experiment. So the social experiment is, let's reinvest in human skills that involve the interaction between humans. That does involve a father speaking to their children, right? A teacher helping the students learn, a brother comforting their sister, right? Friends coming together to build something. So all of those things are tied in the ongoing experiment. I think parasocial relationships are very powerful. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that term, parasocial relationship. It's more like the relationship that 90% of younger people have now, where they know about someone, but there's no human interaction between them. There's only a one-sided interaction. So like when someone says, "Oh yeah, I really love this person," your father or your mother, right? No, it would be someone they spend more time watching from a distance than the people right next to them. That's kind of what I mean. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's an imbalance. There's too much of something and not enough of another thing. So whenever I interact, I volunteer at a anime convention every year. When I go there, over the years, when I spend talking, I see the generational change. Like generation by generation, the year, or like older by older, anime conventions, the targeted age group is around 18 years old. And then some of them come with their parents, some of them don't. I went to this anime convention the last 22 years. No, 21. This would be the 21st year, I think. 2017? No, just 20 years. About 20 years consecutively. It's the 19th. This would be the 19th year minus COVID. The times have changed. Like now there are so much less interaction between people. Like less parents, less, like there's still those parents, like parents scrolling in with all their kids, absolutely beautiful. But nowadays when you're talking, it's like they even stand in line not talking to each other. Like you can literally see the years transition. Because I work in registration, so I'm in this room and all I look at is like 400 people in line just waiting and to get checked in, right? And you see the years go by that there's less and less ability to converse with each other, even though they occupy the same space. Like legitimately, when people complain, they would complain on their devices, not talk to each other right next to each other. Like like when someone's really hot, it would be like 30 people complaining to themselves that it's hot. Meanwhile, everyone around them is experiencing the same thing, but they would not engage in conversation about that. So, and then you have like older people, or like maybe even outside of the common courtesy, you have other people like, hey guys, I brought some water, let's share the water. And that's the type of thing that's missing. There's no longer like a human camaraderie in things. Yeah, you hear a lot about creators talk about them. Yeah, basically. So in my opinion, it is one of the things that I think will be something that people will try to, unfortunately, sell. But I really hope that the future, it will be more one of simply looking out for other people. Right now, most people are defined by their list of content, list of actions, list of whatever it is. It's rarely being, hey, I know by the way, I know your resume says you like to draw. Can you explain to me your journey through how it is that you come to draw things? Because that's not in your resume. But your resume isn't a laundry list of the human behind the actions. It's simply a list of the things you've done, right? And that is very useful. It used to be hard to get, and now it's very easy to get. So information like, oh, you passed your JLPT exams. Oh, you have a crocodile. You actually landed on one of the most common comments when you made that video comment. You saw the Duolingo streak. You saw the 400-day number. That was intentional. That's one of my social experiments. That numbers draw people's attention now. It's not for bad or for good. I'm saying it's a lot easily accessible when you're looking at data. And data is what the internet does really well. Stories and human interaction is not what the internet does well. It does it very poorly. And in my opinion, healthy human beings do both. They know that, yes, it's fun to create data and like get your accolades and resume. It's more so that you know how to do that and also spend time on your life. Spend time with other people who have limited time on Earth, right? Like on this planet. So it's both. Yes, that money has to roll in. I totally get it. You have to make that money. You have to do the business side of things. But the business side of things is void of subjectivity. It's void of the balancing force, which is, yeah, let's say you make billions of dollars and you have no family and no one cares about you. That's what I mean. Like, you kind of want both. Humans require a balance of both. And right now, there are kids, in my opinion, who, if they're estranged from their parents, like their parents just don't connect with them, like, or do anything with them, they would inherently go to the internet. And the internet will serve you exactly what you want. It will serve you the data and the confirmation bias necessary for you to provide any reason for you to stay online. So, but that's not coming from a human perspective. It's coming from an automated machine data-driven perspective. So there's no appreciation for failure and learning from it. There's no appreciation for making mistakes because you're human. There's no appreciation for risking miscommunication in order to build a lasting friendship from that miscommunication. There's only right and wrong, the things to do and the things not to do. That's the first step. So if I ever get an opportunity and the privilege to interact with someone who's like having a really tough time, before the internet, before all of this, I've encountered this in my own like personal life, right? Like, I was fairly high achieving when I was younger, and I was also surrounded by incredibly high achieving people. But the symptoms are still similar. The incredibly high achieving people who focus incredibly on like accolades and scores and how to quickly make money and stuff. Ultimately, I had a few colleagues that their mental health suffered. They were had unsustainable and inability to communicate and rely on someone else, and I was the person who was the fallback, as in it wasn't their parents or their siblings, it was me. So like that was a really sobering part of my life. Like, I don't think that should be a thing. And now it's even more exaggerated. Like that happens on occasion, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is, for every one of that person before the internet, like this is before social media and stuff, that happened like once or twice in my life. Now I'm on the internet, and that happens like 5 or so times every year. Like 20 years, and I've encountered one instance of that where I made myself available as much as I can, and I became the fallback. Now I experience it on an annual basis, and you might be saying, oh, 5 is not that big a deal. I'm talking about 5 people who are willing to say, I think I need some help. Is there anything you could sparingly have time for? And I'm like, you know that this is kind of inappropriate. I really hope that you were going to tell me you can talk to your parents or someone, but there's also professional service. So that's kind of the thing, right? So even with all of that being as appropriate as I can, it still occurs like 5 out of the year. That's crazy to me, because you kind of naturally want to think that 99% of the time it's the person's support system that will recover. And I'm not a person that advertise myself as that. I usually say, if you're having these thoughts, please go seek professional help. Let's go find what the professional hotline is for your area and for your country, right? Because I don't usually talk to people, like my time frame of streaming is not usually Americans. They're usually outside of the United States. And we would talk about like, do you know what your hotline is, like your emergency hotline? And then, I would still kind of like offer a little bit of maybe perhaps comfort or solace. At the same time, you try to move them towards a professional hotline, because it's both a win-win. Like, I'm not professionally responsible for these things. I don't have liability protection. I'm not a exercising professional. At the same time, you can't leave on good conscience knowing that this type of thing occurs a lot. So that's kind of, it's 100% the reason you clicked on my VOD. Oh, the 400 day in the streak. Yeah, on Duolingo, right? I talk about this. On Duolingo, we're at 781. Yeah, we're at 781. I still use Duolingo. It's fun. Like, it's the minimum you can do. You only have to do one extra lesson, really. So this stuff I do on a regular basis. Like, you mentioned the whole PhD would be much harder, and I agree with you for possibly a different reason. The PhD is giving you the skills to be consistent. So every problem you encounter, if you don't, address those problems, solve those problems, then you eventually fail. So the PhD to me is to demonstrate that whatever problem that was thrown at me, I was able to resolve it. And I think oftentimes when you think about accolades, I usually think about it as, how many problems have you solved? And how many problems have you renegotiated, and how many different ways you have learned to solve different problems? That's what makes someone a lot more confident sounding without needing to sound arrogant and self-selling. So the only way, in my opinion, I usually say this, I don't have a skill that is easy to show. I think the internet, this is one of the reasons why the internet is not great at these things. The thing that the internet makes money. Like if you need to make money and do business, usually is not the skill that I'm talking about. And the skill that you value right now is coincidentally that skill, which is to be consistent in the face of failure, and then pursuing something through the one's own source of motivation and intrinsic value in keeping that, like your children, right? So that stuff is very difficult to portray, and it's not good for business. Like YouTube, the YouTube platform and Twitch platform, that's rarely something that is highlighted. It's about those point-to-point moments, the highlights, the clips, the 3 minutes of fame, the memes, the short form format. They exponentially outperform a platform that is even willing to gamble on long form formats. That's basically, like, for me, how do I characterize my last 1500 videos? It's me doing exactly this. So I do my work, I'm studying, and then occasionally I get the privilege of talking to someone like you, Crocodile, or someone like the one aforementioned people that I interact with, and I ask them, what are your motivations? Oh, you've stopped learning Japanese. May I ask, why'd you stop learning Japanese? What got you into Japanese in the first place? So all of this stuff is part of the process. My progress is we're getting more and more consistent, and also getting closer and closer to the edge, getting to that point where I can practice, as in, like, the progress is me practicing talking to various people about these things. I think you can find these. You can definitely find this type of service at your, I don't know, your next application that matches you up with a therapist. I'm not saying you need therapy, Crocodile, right? We're talking about more like therapeutic conversation. Like, do you have a friend that when you're having a bad day, like your significant other, if you have a partner, right? Your significant other, you have a bad day, what do? You grab a cup of coffee, pull up in a table, and you talk to your significant other, or you talk to your best bud, go to the local pub, hang out with your friends, share a drink, talk with each other, right? The default now is you go online, you find a forum of people who hate the thing as much as you do, type and vent all the things you hate, and then afterwards you immediately regret the drama that you got yourself involved in. That's it. It sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I think I'm being a little bit conservative. I don't actually, what I said was pretty conservative in the patterns that I see. That, like, it's more than that. This is the extreme case. So this is not the normal. Bad actors, like really hardcore bad actors, when they have a bad day, they would go online, look for a victim, and unload on the victim, and then feel good about it, and then the following day they would feel remorse if they can reflect on it. But even the sad part is, if you're a bad actor, you don't feel any remorse either. So it's kind of like going to work. You have a bad day at home, you go to work and you just chew out your next customer and you feel zero remorse for that. Or like your boss is getting on your case and you come home and you chew out your children, right? These are like extreme circumstances. So we're talking about extreme circumstances. Luckily, I don't think this is the case at the moment. So even when I'm saying like someone who's really angry, they go on a forum or like the Steam page review or something and type a really horrendous, really heinous, like hateful message, they can still delete it. Obviously, the internet doesn't forget, but at least it didn't come with consequences that are permanent. That doesn't change the fact that some of these people, they might forget that they've done these things, And the moment, and lots of these kids want to be internet famous or be noted on the internet, right? You see them, they become 20, 22 years old, and suddenly they slip. And then the internet doesn't forget. So they slip, and then that heinous post you had from 18 years ago, like when you were 18, when you were 16, it all comes back. And that sucks. And I don't think and the thing is self-fulfilling, because if that kid grew up being remorseless and don't feel regret for their things or like compassion, the people who criticize that person are likely their peers, which will also do not have remorse or compassion at all. So now you have what is currently what I think is the current state of quote unquote feedback online. You have polarizing witch hunting, cancel culture, hustle hyperpolarization. That's the typical behavior right now. Maybe it might not be permanent, and it might change next year, the year after. Technology really does have an impact on a lot of these. So I would say there is a lot of negligence on platforms. Not necessarily, they're not malicious, so they're not intentionally doing it, but negligence, as in it's part of their oversight. There was an oversight in the consequences of optimizing some of these things. And this is the current dialogue. Actually, Australia is one of the bigger countries that are thinking about this. I'm sure, Crocodile, you might have been affected by, since you have little ones, you probably are being affected by the current legislation on limiting social media exposure, right? Because your children would be within the age limit that Australia is currently experimenting, passing legislation to limit the social media exposure to children. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. The stuff that I talk about, I try to, like, if it's a really young person, like 13, first I ask them, do you have a parent or guardian? Because you want to be careful about these things. And then, try to like, are your parents aware of these type of things? Because we're not saying that you need to be clairvoyant. Like, there's so many things that any singular person cannot predict and see. However, together, collectively, if the internet permits or like encourages people to collectively care about each other, then we have less mistakes, less problems. Like, there's so many things that can counter the hyperpolarization of the internet, and that so far you can kind of see some of those things. Australia is actually come up quite often in my discussions because they are one of the quote unquote leaders of legislation when it comes to the impact of social media on youth. It's pretty gnarly right now, in my opinion. Yeah, thank God your 7-year-old doesn't need social media when they can talk to their friends and make new ones at school or when we go to the park or something. Exactly. They can even make friends with dogs. You know what I mean? Like, have fun hanging out with your pet, or like a silly goober, than spending most of your time pining for a dog that is not yours. For example, I for the record, I love watching like cat videos and stuff and dog videos, but the reason why I like watching them is not because I want one. It's because the owners, the people in the video, are so happy together. Like, what I mean is, a lot of times when I ask people, like younger kids, occasionally I encounter someone who's like 14 or 15 who says like, why can't I have that? Like, I love seeing all these things. Why can't I be like that? Why can't my life be like that? And my first thought is, well, what does your life have now? Like, think about all the things that you have now. What can you do with that? Because when you're really young, you spend most of your time probably coveting the very first things you have examples of. So whenever you see like a, I don't know, a black back flipping dog online, what they really want is that dog. And the hard part, in my opinion, is it's a lose-lose, because if you're the adult, if you're the guardian or the person that's providing, that's also on you. What I mean is, if you have a child that suddenly says, hey, you know, why don't we have like $3 million to spend on a very expensive car, and then we can trash that car to make $4 million more dollars? I don't, like, kudos to all the, to me, I think the parents of tomorrow, like you, I think you're like, since you have young ones right now, the parents of tomorrow is, I am rooting for the parents of tomorrow. I am also very concerned. If I ever decide to have children, right? Like I do, I like the romantic gesture of raising a child of my own. At the same time, all of this is involved in being a parent. So like what I mean is, what's another greater purpose of actually understanding what's going on online? You need to know what's going on online as well. So if you're raising a child, you gotta also be able to be aware of all these things. I understand that not all parents have all the time in the world, but generally parents have to make their attempt to understand some of these things, because how else are you going to connect with your child? You can present your hobbies to them and invite them in. So that's another opportunity. Nowadays, the ones that, the little ones, they're not that little, you know, they're younger adults. Young adults, there's no bridge to get to their parents, and their parents have no interest either. They don't have, it's not that they don't have interest in the sense of they don't care, but they haven't developed the opportunity for that interest because they don't have time. Their time is belonging to another sphere. So it's not like their parents are able to say, oh yeah, let's just go doom scroll for 3 hours together. Right? It's tough. It's incredibly tough. And if you can encourage the child, or like if the media they are seeing demonstrates how much fun, right? For example, how much fun it is to be interacting with your own parents, that is a different story. That's not what's happening right now. You're not having curated, balanced exposure to depictions of youth. You're having exaggerated, idolized, disproportionate, perfect images of human accomplishments. So if you're 13 years old, the first thing you're going to think about is, why isn't my father making billions of dollars making content online? Why can't I just work on this one little task over and over again and then milk it for all the money, so then I can just keep doing this one small little task? That's kind of how I feel the younger someone gets. Luckily, or somewhat luckily, I suppose, this is changing now. Like YouTube and possibly Twitch, I don't actually know what's happening on Twitch. YouTube tends to land on the like the news a lot, right? Google. And there's lots of ways that they're trying to maybe slowly change up the way what is being exposed to inexperienced people, right? It's not fair. This is not fair, because you're not born with experiences. So it's both not fair for the people who want the experience like an experienced person have. It's also not fair to the people who are experienced, who have to oversee the kids. So it's a collective effort. You have to make a collective effort to share the burden. And that's kind of where the companies are. They are probably time tested to be also part of the negligence. I would say negligence is the opportune word. It's suggesting that despite not intentionally being harmful, the platforms and stuff are also responsible for not overseeing a growing problem, right? So turning a blind eye is negligence. Maliciously doing it, you can kind of argue, well, is it malicious to chase after profits at the expense of, it can be construed as predatory. I'm being a little bit politically fair here, right? Parents do their best to do so to offset it. So I think it's pretty cool that we're seeing a lot of that, especially if I'm speaking to an Australian, because Aussie government is nearly first to the pitch. China also follow. I think China preceded. China has been working on their legislation, but there's a lot of difficult censorship when it comes to, like, if you're outside of China, it's difficult to know what their policies are and how they're enforced. But in Australia, it has become a very open thing. To echo the policies in Australia, in the United States, there, at the federal level, there's nothing official at the federal level. However, state to state, there are varying stances. Much like most things in the United States, there are varying stances on how to negotiate what I'm talking about. So, long story short, right? All of this is related. How do you get if you want children, say, like, oh no, nothing can stop you from getting used to the internet, then let's change the content on the internet. Or, like, what I mean is, let's encourage and incentivize different type of content, and then you'll be more representative, right? So yes, that's probably kind of my ulterior motive. Like, I don't want to contribute to the business model, but I don't have to either, because you have to remember that people have to make money, right? They might do this for a living. So I'm not saying you should feel guilty about this stuff. I simply chose not to contribute to it, which maybe I might eat my words in 5 years or so, but I'm likely to put my money, quote unquote, I'm literally putting my money where my mouth is. In another 5 or so years, I think it will be a different landscape. The internet will be a different landscape. Maybe, like, the ratio of content creators to their audience will be a lot smaller. They're incentivized to promote certain types of content that deals with, hey guys, let's learn something together, right? Like, let's go and see how actually it's very difficult to do things, and let's stumble, fall, and learn together, right? That's not very popular, by the way. I think the closest thing you get are, like, video games, and even video games don't pull, in my opinion, their weight, because inherently most people highlight all the triumphs and truncate the time it takes to achieve those triumphs, largely because there's no incentive to promote long-lasting progress. And if I had to do a TLDR, I think most of the stuff that I talk about resonate a lot more with current adults, like family, like fathers and mothers, than any of the kids nowadays. The kids find it like you're either a single adult who don't care about children. That's usually the most contentious point that I encounter on occasion, or younger people who tell me to put the fries in the bag because they are perfectly happy without having to interact with their parents anymore, because they're going to be superstars and they know what's right, or they know someone who knows the correct answer. but they don't talk to them. Like it's a parasocial relationship. So like they would rather trust someone that they never have a conversation with than probably the people who are responsible for their well-being. Not that it always works out for the best. We're not talking about the best. We're talking about a human connection. So it does. I have this really weird situation where the goal is to consistently interact with someone, but still continue to encourage them to go and interact with their support system. So even if it means like, oh, this person, okay, right now they don't want to talk to their support system, they don't want to go seek professional help, I would be like willing to talk, but it would be consistently for the purpose of indirectly demonstrating that they have the skills, ability to go talk to their support system. So at some point, the most gratifying thing that I tend to encounter is that they start seeking problems, acknowledging their problems, and then eventually finding the motivation to go and talk to the most appropriate people for help. And that's what I do offline. I do that offline. But for now, this is the platform that I'm using. Like I'm learning something, and typically when you're learning something that takes a long time, right? Like learning a language, it kind of draws those people. So that's the social experiment. If you play a video game that is very hard, you kind of draw the same personalities. If you're working on a skill that requires a lot of persistence, self-motivation, or a very trendy skill, learning Japanese is very trendy because it deals with video games, and video games deal with artwork, and then often video games, learning Japanese, playing like even making video games, they all involve a creative process. So that would be music, arts, and here we are, right? So most of this stuff is used for pre-selection. And it's not a coincidence because I allowed myself to be influenced by what other people like. The reason I got here was because most people talk about learning Japanese one day when they were inspired to learn Japanese off of some of their other like hobbies or fans or things that they were fan of. Yeah. And that's kind of the long digression. So this is where I would say statistically, if you were here for 2 hours, that's where I'm at now. The progress of my abilities to like do this social experiment ends around the 2 to 3 hour part as the first discussion with a random stranger. So if you felt compelled and feel like some of the stuff is very reassuring or relatable, then that's what I've been working on the last couple years. Like, we'll say 3 to 5 years, give or take. And it'll sound completely different if I find out that I'm talking to someone who's 18, someone who's 23, depending on their background and whatnot. So I've used most of the context that would appeal to someone who is likely going to raise a child in this interesting context of the internet nowadays. And if I'm not spot on, then, you know, I try to work on it. All right. So let's see if I remember all these things. Let's see, Biao. How do we do this? Surface. Oh. Right.
脚、电、
well,
哼、
Bing? No, that's OPL too.
表
Y'all, something about suitable armor on the surface to express. Not mounting. To collect. Is it mounting? It is mounting. Okay.
表
Okay. Alright. So I was gonna go into review, but thank you for the privilege, Crocodile, if you're still around. My review stacks are kind of big, but don't worry about it. This review stack is a testament to how many wonderful conversations I've had in the previous couple days. The one thing that I often get is like, oh yeah, sorry for interrupting your review sessions or something like that. Secondary. So I often think of it like, if that number keeps going up, it also means that I've been having great conversations with the occasional visitor. And then I can always make up the review stack at some point. So to that end, I do need to finish in an hour to meet up with someone or talk with someone. So we're gonna do our attempt to review all our characters here and then call it a day, and we'll catch up tomorrow. Sounds like you are looking for the interruptions. I am looking for the interruptions. Or here's the flip, Crocodile. This is the interruption. If you're taking it from my perspective, right? I posit this a lot of times when people say, sorry for if I was following along well enough. Yeah. So the interruptions is priority number one. So oftentimes this is how I tell people, like the kiddos who want a straight answer, like a Gen Z answer. The Gen Z answer is, if I wanted to focus on getting this done, why am I streaming? The reason why I say that is, this is a commentary on what I think Gen Z is having problems with. So when they're using logic, right? When they're using logic, oftentimes you can use their logic to ask a question. There is someone from the UK who feels they're very apologetic. They're quite apologetic, and they often says like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, I know you need to get on with your lessons and stuff." And my first thought is, you're gonna have to take my word for it, and I have no problems repeating it in a different way or humorous way each and every time. If my priority is to finish my reviews, why am I streaming? Like, logically, we'll work through that, right? If I'm not looking for the interruptions, I could logically remove the possibility of being interrupted, right? And that's specifically just not streaming at all. So oftentimes I get ahead of people now. This question is also one of the most frequently asked questions, or like frequently asked responses. And they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you go." Others actually choose, they kind of pop in and they say, "Oh, I just want to say this one thing very quickly, but I just don't want to get in the way of your study," right? And absolutely, I'm honored and privileged that they care about that. Like, it really does warm my heart. The idea is, though, that little thing you're saying, it's priceless. So what happens most of the time is, the occasional two people that would come by, they would say like, "Oh, I'm just saying silence so that I don't trigger you into a long digression." immediately that ends up leading to a great conversation. Time well spent is probably the word I would say. Absolutely time well spent. And I want to add one thing. Just because you're happy, right? And maybe I can assure you that I am happy with my choices and whatnot. We're human. Let's get greedy, right? If you're happy, get happier. Like, don't, like, try not to feel guilt about wanting to be happier. So, whenever I think about it, for healthy people, like, if you're healthy and happy, we're not talking about, like, kids who have problems with time management and stuff. If you say hi to me, I'm willing to throw time at that to make it worth your while. That is why I am happy. So if I'm streaming, this is very different. I'm not going to represent other streamers, and I actually think it's not true for most streamers. Time is not money for me. Time is well-being for me. So if you're sitting here and you're watching me do something and you're not getting something useful out of it, like getting time or learning something, sure as heck, if you're sparking in a conversation with me, it's gonna be time well spent. Like, at least to form some sort of unique value to it. Like, otherwise, dang man, go and do your thing. Go become independent. Go and like work on your drawing and then share with me what your drawing is, right? Then we can talk about that, because you got to be excited about your life as well as other people's lives around you. So that's, I know, yes, you are right. If you are following well enough, the whole point is looking for the interruption. I do this stuff in the background, so I can study things whenever I please. I don't necessarily need to worry about this. Like, it's kind of like, oh, be careful, your science experiment might run away. I'm like, no, that question's gonna stay there. It's gonna be there for some time. You're not gonna be here forever. Like, us people aren't going to be here forever, right? This stuff, they don't have feelings. Like, if you I don't identify as this stuff. So if that review gets higher, I don't identify as it, which is something that I do have to talk about when I'm talking about younger people, because they do start identifying as their numbers. They start identifying themselves as their subscriber numbers, their viewer numbers, their grade, right? And less so about their human qualities, like their happiness, their motivation, their loving parents, their friendship. No, it then becomes a numbers game. And I typically draw some contrast between them. Like, in fact, I actually think is the opposite. Like, the higher this number gets, the more I actually think I spent talking with people. So you can kind of get an idea of how many times now it's happened. So we get on an average of anywhere from 100 to 170 reviews a day. So it's 817 now. So it's been 4 or 5 days since I hadn't had a wonderful discussion with someone. So it's been like 4 or 5, and I wouldn't give it up for anything else. Like, it's priceless. Here's a really cynical and sobering thought, Crocodile. How often do you think I actually talk to bots? Wait, how often do you think that I have a human interaction that can be misconstrued as an interaction with a bot? I will slowly write this out on screen. So I have 10 interactions, and this is per day. 6 of them are no greater than an interaction with a bot. One message. No response. Actually, of the 6, like a ChatGPT conversation. Yeah. And then of the 6, I can confirm that usually 4 of them are actually bots. They're like literally bots. And that's very disappointing. Like what I mean is, it's such a shame that when someone goes to type something, they don't want more from it. Like, I'm okay with egotistical people who are a bit narcissistic. At least they care about more about what they do, but they don't. Like, most of the time, they don't even care. Like, someone says hi, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? It's been a while. Like, it's been 2 weeks. Have you been doing anything in the last 2 weeks? Like, did you draw something? That's what I would probably ask you if we were to talk again in 2 weeks. And it would be like, no response. Like, no response. They'd be gone already. Like, that's it. So, 6 out of 10 interactions on a daily basis is less than this. It's less than ChatGPT. Like, I'm not saying that you should bear your life to me or something like that, but I'm not a streamer that is maintaining like 100,000 viewers who just spam, I don't know, spam memes the whole time. I'm literally a person who says, oh, hey, hello there, how are you? I haven't seen you here before. Are you interested in language learning? They're gone. They're already gone. So I can't confirm if they were a bot or not. And then 4 of them, they have auto responses. And you can trigger the auto responses to confirm that they're ChatGPT. Or not necessarily ChatGPT, but it's an AI model for auto response. And it's a fun experiment too. So I can ask very specific questions to tell if it's a bot. Or it's a Discord spam. Someone like, it's a automated service that says, hey, for the best viewers, you know, pay. Or right now, the current flavor of bots is, hey, and it's a paragraph like, hey, I really like your stream and I followed you on your content, insert content, and it's content that you don't even make. Like, maybe like, I don't know, we'll just call it Pony Paradise or something. Like, I want to talk later on. Hit me up on this Discord link. That is that's one of the most common. And they're gonna have like a Discord link in it. A human didn't even do that anymore. Like, humans don't even try to scam you anymore. Like, you don't even get human scams. The other, if you're wondering what the other type that you often get as a content creator, if you have a Discord and your Discord is linked to your YouTube and it's linked to your Twitch, regardless of how big you are or how small you are, even if you have 0 viewers, if your Discord is linked to a bigger channel, like say a large video game, like say Fortnite, eventually you'll get a DM, an auto add friend, and you can have a conversation with a AI aided artist who's gonna try to sell you on art they actually stole most of the time. What they did was they take the AI, they create a website and a profile, by generating AI art based on someone. And when you ask them questions, they will respond in a very mechanical way. Where then, if you ask them, "Hey, can I see your credentials?" Like, what? And then, hey, they would pressure you and say, "If you just look at my artwork, you might find something interesting." I did find something interesting. When they link their profile, it's stolen AI art. Like, it's AI art built on stolen deviant, like it's built on deviant art platforms and whatnot. And my first thought is like, this suspiciously does not look like your artwork. So then I do a litmus test and I ask them, what's your inspiration on your artwork at this date on your site? And it would be an arbitrary artwork. It wouldn't be the first one. It wouldn't be the last one. It would be an arbitrary one that stuck out. And they would have this really stock response like, oh, you know, all my artwork is cherished. And I'm like, dude, stop sounding like a horoscope. Like, even humans can do a better horoscope than you can. That's the typical interaction that I have on a daily basis. You have scammers or grifters who run auto-generated responses on stolen material or iterating on stolen material that aren't even overseen by humans. Like, when I start asking them a humanistic question, it's not like there's a manual guy in the back like, oh, they're just, you know, overseeing it. It's kind of like driving a Tesla, right? And you put it on auto drive and then you go to bed, as opposed to like having the auto driving mode on, but you're still in the car ready to take over manually. You don't even get that. So I'm working on a social experiment in which I'm testing how many people are still watching their bot interacting with another person. Like, so I asked them specific questions to see if, like, is there someone reading this chat right now? So what if I type like, hey, what do you think about doing artwork underwater or something? And if someone comes in and interrupts their own chatbot, here's the catch. I would more likely buy something from someone who's actually spending their human time selling me artwork. Like, honestly, I am more compelled to buy artwork that is actually made by an artist who is not that than someone who can't even be bothered to be in front of their screen to sell you something. Like, rapport is non-existent in this modern technology. People do not know how to express. Like, here's the really cynical problem right now, or like oxymoronic, you know, kind of like paradox problem. The people who actually are making artwork, who want to sell artwork through their work, the most natural thing they do is to have problems communicating. So, you know what's the irony here? The way you can tell if it's a Discord scam is the person speaks really well. Do you know how disappointing that is? Like, do you know, like, that this is what I mean by how I'm kind of like overly concerned now. I know I'm being a little bit morbid, but one of the signs that it's a Discord scam is that they speak, like they type very well. They type incredibly constructed, no breathing room, complete paragraphs, and have a coherent story with no form of illicit insecurity. Incredibly mechanically similar. when someone says, oh, I want to sell some artwork, and they talk about how they can't, like, I don't know what it is, I'm not sure if it's worth anything, that's actually probably more likely to be a person now than someone who can sell me a sales pitch like it was automated. This is where then I start throwing curveballs. So I ask them, hey, what do you think about painting hands? Like, how do you feel about just painting hands? Like, can you tell me a story about what it's like to draw a hand? That's what I would ask. And the person's like, oh, well, you know, the act of drawing hands can be a very difficult thing, but if you purchase my artwork, I can demonstrate the many hours that I have, you know, studied human. I'm like, people don't speak like that, please. Like, and I'm hear me out. If this person is able to convince me that that's what they actually sound like, we would still be talking. So if you're wondering, oh, what if a human being actually did sound like that? They would talk about their tireless hours systematically studying the anatomy of the hands in order to bring me this privilege of buying hand art from them. Then yes, certainly, I will admit my defeat. I would say, I'm so sorry that you happen to sound like an automatic device. Can you accept my apology? I admit that I'm wrong, right? But hear me out. There's something really real about that question. If you're an artist and I asked you, what are your feelings about drawing human hands? If they say something like the heckin', oh, human hands are, you know, the process of drawing a human hand is like creating alignment with the digits, and like, I'm like, dude, at least be human. Because I can tell you now, drawing hands, oh, that's a trigger point. If you're an artist and you're willing to sell your art and you think your art is good and, you know, like you're comfortable with asking people about selling your art, and you answer that hand question like you're like some bot who is so secure about their understanding of human anatomy, yo, that's not human. You're not a human person. Because I can assure you, it's nearly almost universal when it comes to some of those questions. Everyone has their own flavor of explaining how hands is like the end of their career. I'm just kidding. Generally, the Discord scam public servers are pretty out of hand lately. You believe we banned 10 people yesterday or something for spam? Yeah. Pretty much, Mika. Alright, so let's finish this and then... wait, did we say 2? Were we gonna still do 2 or was it 3? It's 2, right? I gotta wrap this up. So we're gonna do this. I met Crocodile, by the way. Crocodile is the one that, by the way, the thing, if you're wondering why someone named I can't see the filter yet because I'm streaming, but someone who starts with S, this is Crocodile. Crocodile is starting their... By the way, this is Mika, Crocodile, the person that I mentioned that's also working on artwork and have art class and whatnot, who actually started with anatomy as well. So Crocodile is a parent, and they're starting up their hobby on drawing. So they want to, like 15 years ago, they started something, kind of took a break, right? They also tried to learn Japanese, currently taking a break. We'll see how long that break lasts. Mika is currently taking a break from Japanese as well. Oh, save._game. Yeah, okay. So save game is Crocodile's thing. So Mika is also taking a break from Japanese. I'm not sure if she's going to take a break from drawing, but just keeping up the drawing thing. We talk about drawing from time to time. And I talk about it from more of the casual standpoint. And Mika's on the younger side. So different generations here. 3 different generations, actually. 3 different. Approaching 40, approaching 30, approaching 20. 3 different generations. What sort of server do you usually use? That's an interesting question to ask him. Her. Them. I actually haven't ascertained whether you draw them as bad as draw everything else. I have some hand practice on your phone notes app. Oh. I avoid hands. Let's just say that. Listen, Mika. You aren't bad at everything either. Isn't it a lot interesting to say that to someone else? You know? You know, Mika? Alright, I'm gonna stop taking jabs. I'll let you two sort out while I finish up here in the next 30 minutes. Okay. You're bad at most things. That's different? Really? That's different. Alright. Alright, I'll take it. I'll take your word for it. It's different. Alright. Okay, so we got Biao, prostitute, Peng, which is Peng, Biao again, Mount, Jiao, beautiful, Bian, Blah. Had to see them, but you posted them for today. Feel free to start earlier if that's easier for you. Okay, okay, fair enough. We'll get done soon after I go through these. Whoa. Amber. 4 air, 1 draw a carriage. Jong. Something about a mustache and fire. Bright. Swa. Instigate. Whoa. Sundial. No, noon. Something about a poor soul at noon. It's a negative thing. It's not punishment. I don't know. Disobedient. Disobedient. Sal. Scratch. Sure. Sure. Way. Ancient measurement or measurement? Oh, G. Lie in wait. Bing. Reports. When. Meat or fish. Hi. Sound of waves. Oh. Something about queen and ways. Unexpectedly meet. Ting. Cinder. Oh boy. Now we get into yesterday. Okay. Let's see. Way. Curtain. Xiao. Sky. One. Buzz. That's a little weak. Yo. That's not great. It's a tree, I think. Is it some sort of tree? Oh no. It's a plant. Oh, is it millet? It's a sprout. Or did I use reason? It's a pomelo! Okay. Hang on. I need to see what the pomelo. Oh, I did use sprout. Dang it. Alright. So let's put a dot here. Pomelo and what was the what was wool? It's obedient? Okay. Gone. Olive. Qiao. Yeah, that's definitely Qiao. Firewood. Oh no, it's not firewood. Is it? It's haggard. Oh goodness. All right. What the beans? Oh, it's gone. Got the top part. I wanted to say it's like goo, but it's probably not. Dang it. It's yo. No, it's not yo. It's ying. Choke on. Yong. Yong is insight. The heck? Yin. Preserve. Somehow I want to say goo, but I don't think so. Is it? Cleaning up a water zipper. And he's throwing it in the dish. Oh, it's Guan, not Gu. Guan. Wrong location. Wash. Liang. Liang is... I connected it with bridge. But what does that have to do with a bridge? You had your blade. Chop, chop, chop. Like some rice. Oh, this is millet. I can millet. Where were you? What's this big lightning with? Heck. It's I. On. Dang it. On. Yeah. Yeah. On. I don't understand the lightning part though. Oh, he was shooting out from a big lightning gun? Oh, goodness gracious. What is that? 6 already? Yikes. Yeah. What the barbarian mouth? Yeah. Surprised. Ming. Something about dealing with people, using fingers to... What is it about his fingers? Oh my goodness. Pursed lips. That's... Yeah, that's... Yeah. That's gonna be wild. Pursed lips. I think this is Ben Spurt or Bung Bung with a G. Spurt. Lu. Salary. Zhi. English foot? No, Chinese foot. Chinese foot. gun. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, thick soup. Thick soup. Hui, dark. Ji. Immediate and word. Immediate say. Definitely it's D. Chirp. Send help. Chirp. Alright. Lie. No, that's lie actually. Lie. Squint. Alright. Hun. Oh, we went over this one. Right, Hun. Vast. E. Radiant. Radiating. Sure. Red Foreman. What the heck? Sure, what are we doing? Something about being angry and a pardon. That's a weak one. Hey, Arc. Way, Tantide. Chul. Towering. What the suit? Suit and take charge. Is that still su? Oh. No. I think that's still oh, it's tsu. Oh man. Tsu Ancestral Hall. Talked about this. School. Melon mouth. Croak. This is croak. That's a problem. I. Bones. Hung. Brick heated bed. I know. Twin. Now why is this twin? Oh, slip out. So some of the problem ones no longer occur from yesterday. Guard. Blue. Jing. Something about the guard was green and now they're blue. Because he was trying to help them, but failed to help them. Pacify. Dang it! Pacify a green Hulk. Okay. Feels bad, man. Go. Careless. Wait, collection. Qiao, precipice. Or precipitous. I think, either. Either is fine. B, protect. Nope. That is not that. Jewel. Some sort of bug. Oh no, not really. Bore in. It's an aspect of a bug. G, draw. J, pick. G, chuckle. May. Oh, what do you call the thing? Oh, lintel. Lintel. Jiang. Warehouse. Yi. Yi. B. Shabby. Fool. What the fool? What is that? Willis? And fool. Rarely. Law. Cheese. Gu. Something about tombstone hitting. Did he hit the mouth? It's not creak. Heck. Mutter. Ah, it was a sound. Dang it. Gung. Gung. Stem. Oh no, it's gun. Stem. Xiao. Free. Wait, did I get two things confused? I might have gotten Xiao's confused. That's fine. Oh no, that's Sky. The other Xiao is Sky. G. Not G. A bookshelf and mouth. Chew. Yes, that is G. Abundant. True. Is that right? Ho? Yes. Alright, so we got the different ones being a problem. So Wu disobedient soul. Okay. Yo. A sprout, man. Pomelo got nothing on Pomelo. Maybe it's maybe Yoshi eats the pomelo and then it's very sweet, like it's more sour than he expected or something. That could be helpful. Qiu. Or qiao. This is like the turkey. He's cooked it. got cooked. So what does that have to do with the soul? Oh man, Qiao is in Haggard. His Haggard soul. So he had to roast a turkey because his soul is haggard. Fair enough. Ying was bad. It was Beans. Oh, he was helping out, defending, or not. This is not Ying. Yeah is the one. He's just chilling outside. Electricity plant, and then a guard. Oh, that's a guard above. Choked on, or a soldier choked on the beans. Yoshi like kicks him in the mouth, or kicks him in the stomach. Spits out. Okay. One. A zipper. Cleaning just a zipper. I guess that's kind of weird. On the big lightning shooting gun hitting Slender Man. Ming. I don't know what he's doing with his fingers. Mickey Mouse. Oh, he's putting it to his pursed lips? Yeesh. That's the closest we can get for pursed lips. T. What was that? Immediate. And then chirp. An instant alarm. Chirping alarm. And ch. Hardening the red, the green, the red foreman. Like the hot-headed red foreman. S. Wearing a suit, trying to take charge of the ancestral tomb with all the other ghosts around. Ding. A guard, stand, and green. Oh, this is the green thing, trying to pacify the green guard. And then turning him blue instead. And what is this? Cool. I still don't know what ghoul is. Oh, it's mutter. Ooh, like muttering things to the tombstone, maybe, while bearing the things. Alright. We're still hitting our time. It's 1:53, folks. Local time. Alright, that's a wrap for HanziHero today. Gotta keep the characters rolling. Eventually we're just gonna sweep all of these characters right off the review stack. Alright folks, there you have it. End of HanziHero for today. If you're gonna watch this later, right? 谢谢. As always, feel free to follow along, pick up HanziHero for yourself, give it a go. You are more than welcome to come on by and yap, right? Give me 5 minutes, I'll give you 3 hours. That should be my the new slogan. Like in for a penny, or like in for a penny, stay for a dime or something. Wait, what is the I think I'm quoting Punisher. Oh, in for a penny, in for a penny, in for a pound is the thing. I think the Punisher has a I've been watching like Daredevil recently. The Punisher has a like play on in for a penny, in for a pound. But yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound. It's a British idiom, by the way. So, if you start a project or task, you should finish it. Even if it requires more effort, time, or money than originally planned, right? If you say hi, and you think that's it, be ready to be in for a pound. Anyways, there you have it. So until next time, more than welcome. Talk, chat. It can be about drawing, it can be about things. Sharing is caring, right? Trying to encourage each other to be happy. Not like, again, even the happiest people understand and can appreciate when time is being spent with other people. So get greedy. If you're happy, there's still room for more happiness. If you're happy, I always welcome on spreading and sharing the wealth, right? I talk about happy dollars a lot. When I'm streaming, it's all about sharing the happy dollars. Otherwise, I wouldn't be streaming because most of these streams are sponsored by me with happy dollars. All right. And I understand for all the other people, happy dollars don't put food on the table. So priorities, right? Priorities. Let's not try to create dependency. But you are more than welcome to come on by. In for a penny, in for a pound. Alright, so until next time, stay safe. 大家下次见，感谢观看。See you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.